Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today is pig jewelry day, so come bling our pigs with us. Don't tell anyone, but processing day is coming up this Monday. So we're doing 2 processing dates. We're doing 5 on Monday, and then about a month from now we're doing another 5 because we have, those of you go watch the channel, we've got mixed litters. So we've got a litter that's about 4 weeks behind the other. And you may say, Troy, how do you tell them apart if you're just now tagging? Well, I just look at them from size. I'm pretty certain the smaller ones are from the younger litter and the bigger ones are from the older litter. So that's the strategy we're going with. But we've got to get some tags on them, and I'll explain why and the purpose of tags as far as Red Tool House goes. Looks like a pack of sausage laying right there, doesn't it? You can see the flop-eared one there right behind the white. It's right ear. That is not a failed attempt at ear tagging. That is you got too close to Merida at the feed bowl, and she went ahead and gave you a nice little piercing. So you can see she tore a pretty good hole in that barrow's ear. But in about 5 days, that's not really going to matter. When you look at the industry when it comes to ear tagging, there's a lot of data on it, but the data is really geared toward large production facilities. Large breeding farms that are transporting their pigs cross state, cross country, all those type of things, those really come into play. So the tagging we're talking about, we're not doing 840 tags, which are the USDA approved. You actually have to get a number approved by the USDA. The number is assigned to you, so that's a number that's imprinted on your tags. And that's so they can track every single pig in case there's some sort of swine flu outbreak or some sort of tainted meat issue. They can track back where those pigs came from. That's not what we're dealing with here. So as a small producer, there's only one reason why I even mess with ear tags for my pigs that are going to processing, and that is simply to comply with my processor or to help them out, depending on the processor. Most of my processors that I've tried require me to have a tag. There's several that I've gone to that say, hey, if your pigs aren't tagged, keep them in the trailer 1 second. We're going to throw the new guy in there with him with a tagger, and he gets to tag them all, which is kind of fun to watch. So the processor I'm going to now, I'm going to go ahead and tag them in advance. At least that's the plan. And the reason for that, of course, is assigning cut sheets to the pigs and be able to track that through. So I've got some clients that like more pork, bigger pig, some clients that prefer to have a smaller pig. So as those hanging weights come around, I can assign and say, hey, okay, so pig number 22, put that on this customer's cut sheet, and so forth, so we can track that. And it allows me to write down, like if my smallest pig, I want to write its number down, find out what its weight is, and associate that with that number going forward. So the obvious question are, what are the tools needed for tagging? Obviously you need your tags, but then you need an application tool, which is one of those things. When it comes to tags and tools, you really get what you pay for in that situation. And this is my second tagger. The first tagger I had, I loaned it to somebody. And you know how that works out. When you loan things to people, don't expect getting them back. So I didn't get it back, but I really wasn't that upset about it because it was a piece of junk. I was ready to throw it over the hill anyway. And that's one of those Amazon finds. So what I did do is I'm trying one of these Destron taggers. And this is Destron Fearing. And it's a specific tagger that it goes with specific tags, but really like the build of this. Now, I haven't tried it yet, and you guys are going to get to see me use it here soon. So really what it looks like is just an archaic hole punch, and I'll detail it closer here in a second. Of course, the next thing you need are your tags and the backs that go with the tags. So the tags are 2 pieces. So you have the business end, the sharp spot, that pokes the holes in the ears, and of course the backs that go on it that lock it into place. So we are actually piercing through, no, this isn't for you to eat, sweetheart. We're actually piercing through the pig's flesh on their ears and putting a back on it. So it's just like taking your daughter or your super hip boyfriend to get his ear pierced, and they just shove a hole in it and shove a stud in it with a backer on it, and you're cooking with gas at that point. Y'all act like you haven't eaten in days. You miss. So we look at a close-up of what we're doing here. So we've got our application tool, our punch, and you can see, like I said, it just looks like a hole punch. Has the needle, has the holder for the backer, of course spring loaded, nice little grip, super fancy there. Not a lot of complication to that. Now when it comes to the tags, here are my tags, and I'll talk about the numbers here in a second. But as you can see, they have a just a simple shape to them, pre-printed number, real pokey end, and then of course the backer. The backer slides, so that would go right into that piece and locks in place, hopefully never to come out. Hopefully, I say. So I mentioned you get what you pay for when you buy the tagger, but you also get what you pay for when you buy the tags. And speaking from experience, I may have some old footage laying around. I'll see if I can drop that in right here. But see that? Take that one off, please. See that broke? But I got on Amazon, of course, because that's where everybody goes, and I ordered some smaller yellow tags that were really, really inexpensive. I'm like, wow, this is a great deal. They were directly shipped from China, so what could go wrong? So those literally must have come over on the slow boat from China, because it took almost 4 weeks to get them. And when I went to apply them, the application tool, the one that I talked about throwing over the hill, the application tool, when I go to crimp down on it, those heads of the tag, this pointy part, was so flimsy that they would just break off. So what would happen is I would end up clamping down on a pig's ear, starting to pierce through it, but instead of actually piercing through the skin, it would just whip out, and it would actually scoop out a little chunk of their ear, and obviously really piss off the pig and me. After all, the plan is to pierce the pig, not torture the pig. So I strongly recommend getting your tags and your tagger from a reputable source. Now, I'm not sponsored by QC Supply, but that's who I've used in the past. But I know there's a lot of other supply companies out there that are dedicated to this type of product. You definitely get what you pay for. You should be paying, I think there's 25 tags here. Did I start with number one? Yeah. 25 tags here. I believe it was right at $20. So you should be just under, cat's whisker, under $1 a tag. Those yellow ones I bought, I think I got 100 of them for $20. So that should have been my first red flag. So if you're not trying to keep up with the US DUH and all the requirements that go along with that, and you just simply want to tag your pigs for your personal records, which is what I'm doing, then you really have a kind of a wide open slate for what you want to do. I chose these simply because I wanted something, a smaller square. I don't know where Merritt is. She's obviously getting away from the kids because they're driving her crazy. So she's chilling out somewhere. But Merritt's going on, 4 or 5 years old. She's got a round white tag in her ear, and it's lasted a really long time. And the thing about the white tag, it was so small that it was really tough to see the number, and it got caked with mud so quickly that it made it illegible. So you really had to get right down on it. When she was hanging out with 20 of her other friends, it made it difficult to identify her. Now, obviously, I don't even need to look at the tag to identify Merida. She head and shoulders above everybody else. But so I chose numbers and colors. So the color selection, you've got an option, and the number. So I just chose a pre-printed, something they had in stock, so I didn't have to wait much longer. But this is a grouping of 01 through 25 for my 25 tags, and then it starts with a 2. So it's 201, 202, blah, blah, blah. And it's in this sexy autumn color orange there. Be like Daniel walking into the lion's den. Maybe the Lord will shut the mouths of the swine. They smell the marshmallows in my pockets. Those aren't for the pigs, those are for me. So really, when it comes to tagging my pigs that are going to the processor, I really don't give two hoots as to the numbers that's on them. I just want a tag. So once I get them on there, that's all that matters. Now, when it comes to my 2 gilts that I'm holding back for breeding, I think it's old girl right here, and I have to see him standing. It's when they're standing I get to see who's who. But there's a perfect example of why this obviously is an issue. When we go to load, I want to make sure I don't load the 2 that I want to keep. So we're going to end up tagging just the ones we're going to process. So in this situation, I'm only putting 10 of my 25 tags in. What I'll probably do when it comes to breeding time, and all I've got left are the 2 gilts, I'll buy some other colors. Buy maybe a same round 0 to 25, but maybe in yellow. And that way I can keep track of those, or even buy 2 separate colors. So one gilt may have yellow, another gilt may just go ahead and use the orange, since we'll retire the orange when everyone gets retired. So I'm still, as you can tell, I'm still kind of thinking this through as the process, but the color and the number will allow me to quickly identify who's who, and I can keep track of those records. So when it comes time to breeding, names, we can obviously assign names and write that down. That's no big deal when we're dealing with just 2 pigs. Not that huge of an issue, but that just helps give me additional record tracking there. So one of the biggest frustrations when it comes to tags, and especially dealing with pastured pigs, kicking up the dust, looks like a train, is the fact that the tags can get snagged on branches or tree limbs or those type of things as they're going to scratch, and obviously cause damage to the pig's ear or tear the tag out, and then of course you lose your identification. So that is a concern. That's why I keep hopping around trying different sizes. I want to try to find a size that's small enough that it doesn't get hung, is less prone to get hung, I should say, but it's still large enough that I can read the number and see it from a distance. Like I said, Meredith's tag doesn't get hung, but again, I can't see it very well. As far as application location, I believe the norm is the right ear, but I think that's really kind of up to the farm. And again, if you're dealing with the 840 tags, then I believe there's more specifications to that. Some advice that I've read and tried to follow is the location of the tag. Obviously, don't have it out on the end of the ear. Have it as close to the skull as possible, but without obviously crimping or getting in the fold. Better chance to hang on and a better chance not to get snagged. And probably the biggest thing is you really want to try to keep from hitting a blood vessel. The pig's ear has some pretty large blood vessels that are pretty pronounced. So hopefully you can see those. Hopefully I can see those and dodge them when we're piercing here, because it's not going to kill the pig. It's just probably going to bleed a lot more than if you didn't hit it. So tagging isn't the only option for identifying. Some people do tattoos, and I've never messed with the tattoos. The blacker the pigs, people can express concerns that it's tough to show up on a blacker pig. Works really great on the white, pink pigs you see in the big places. Now they're coming up with RFID chips that are pretty inexpensive. You just inject a chip in your pig and a little RFID scanner, and you can just scan them and you're good to go. So if you want to have your pigs accept the mark of the beast, then you can do that as well. Well, enough talky-talky. Through the magic of editing, as you can see, it's evening time. Everybody's chill right now. So if I go try to shove tags in pigs' ears, they're going to hit the hills. So what we're going to do is, through the magic of editing, tomorrow morning, we're going to be feeding out. And when everyone's just voraciously grazing here at the trough, then we're going to try to punch some holes in ears. If this doesn't work, we'll document that, of course. If some of them run away and I'm not able to get to all of them, then of course the next step is when I go to load. I'll do like they do at the processor. When I get them in the trailer and one of those 5 isn't tagged, I'll put a tag in their ear because they can't run away inside the trailer. Well, needless to say, it's morning time and everybody's a little hungry right now. So we're going to get a couple buckets of feed in the trough to get everybody to shut up! That'll wake you up in the morning. All right, we know we want a white pig. And a pig that's not going to pull away. Need a little more feed. There's one. You get out of my bucket. Didn't work. That's three. Three that are not locking. All right, so the food's all gone, and we got, that's what's crazy. I got 5 tags punched, but only 3 actually have backers on them. 2 of them do not. So number 1 right here, white, is good. Number 6 is set. Number 2 and 3, which I believe they're over here, they're pissed off, sulking, because they've got fancy new earrings and they're not going to stay. So I'm going to have to redo those. Number 5 right here is good. And like I said, number 3, she's no dummy, or he's no dummy. He knows that I poked a hole in his ear and he's ready to scram. So we're going to have to, we may try again in the morning, or we may just wait till we get him on the trailer. So using this new tool, I've discovered the biggest issue is an alignment. You got to make sure you're lined up properly with the hole, with the punch. And of course, a moving pig doesn't help that much. That's why having a head gate or having some sort of lockdown would be helpful. So I could move them to the barn, or I could lock them in the farrowing barn here and have a little bit more of a controlled, but they're still going to run around to some degree. Head gate would lock them down. In the trailer, obviously I could get them tight and be able to clamp them down. With this, really is an alignment, and what I discovered, unfortunately, after the 3rd failure is really have to squeeze hard on the back. Just squeezing up here on the front doesn't allow that pin to go all the way through the backer and set. So really have to get out here on the very end and grab it. And so that's what I learned with the last 2 to get those set. So, new tool, new learning. Unfortunately, I hate the fact that I'm learning on my pigs, but other than piercing my own ear, I'm not quite sure what other options I have. One thing I neglected to mention in my list of all the different markings, of course, is ear notching. Ear notching is the tried and true way that's been done forever. Those of you that aren't familiar with ear notching, there's a system with a different notch in a different spot of the ear. Means litter number, all those type of things. You can Google that to see. I'm not going to explain all that because I don't fully understand it either, because I've never notched. You can even check out Walt Jeffries. I believe he does something with ear nicking. So he's not doing as big a notch, but a small nick that he can use to identify. Again, the key is just to identify who's who, what litter they came from, and then even the order what they were born. So that's where I could go back to tagging. If we had new litters, when we farrow, I could go back to tagging them young. Now again, the question is that tag going to stay in their ear the entire time? But I could take, let's say we breed this gilt here that we want to breed. We breed her, and she throws a litter of 13. Then I could ear tag. I could pick the first number. Say, okay, I want 1-1 through 10 or 1 through 13, and tag all those pigs then. Again, a little piglet with an ear tag may be asking for things to get hung on stuff. So we'll obviously document as we go along. I'll just probably tag these guys in the trailer to finish them out. Curious to see without those backers how long they stay in their ear. I'll do an update when we get to it. All right, take care, everybody.